Okay, so now that we've got our brand voice and we have that formula for the voice sorted out, and we'll give you a bit more time on that later as well, but we have the brand voice, but then you need to have the formula there too, which is, okay, in our case, clear indication of the picture plus cheeky comment. So something like that could be similar for you. This is what comes through in all my comments so that there's consistency in them. What we need to look at next is what we're actually posting for content and as far as photos go on the account. So what I'm going to show you guys is how we actually create an account where we're letting other people do all the work for us in terms of research. And then we're going to take the patterns that work and apply them to our own accounts. So it looks like I need to dial this back a bit. There we go. What we're going to do is because we've already established our imaginary friend, our client here, our ideal client, we're going to take a look on a global level. We're going to take a look at who is that person already following. What are accounts that that person is already into, following, interested in, and we're going to look at who's the best in the world at actually attracting that audience. Okay? So we're going to go back to an example with Freshline, the motorcycle club, where we take the motorcycle adventures. Do you guys remember Kurt? I'm using this example because you now have an idea of who Kurt is, right? So you remember Kurt? Kurt is a guy that he's obviously into adventures. Literally the picture we had of him was him sitting in his, in that case it was a Toyota Land Cruiser, sitting in his Toyota Land Cruiser working on it. That's what he's into, right? We know he's into adventure, we know he's into vehicles, so one of the accounts that Kurt follows is FJ Foreplay. So FJs are Land Cruiser, a version of Land Cruiser I should say, FJ40s, just an older kind of Jeep style Land Cruiser, very popular with our Kurt crowd, okay? Now what we're looking for, when we're looking at these accounts around the world, we're looking for accounts that already are doing a good job with engagement, which means that they've got a decent number of followers, so more than a couple hundred. And then on the posts are getting lots of likes and comments as well. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So here's an example. If I actually went on this post, on this account, I'll look at these accounts on desktop, because when you look at it on desktop, you can actually scroll over with the mouse, and you can see how many likes and comments each of the posts has. So what I've done for you guys is, this is that same account, all these different Land Cruisers, and the first number is the number of likes. You can see here, first number is the number of likes, the second number is the number of comments that are on the post, right? And now all we're doing on those posts is we're reverse engineering, we're hacking which posts, is this off? What's going on with this thing?
It's just yeah, there you go.
We're just reverse engineering which posts are already getting the most traction. What are the winning posts? What are the winning posts that this customer is engaging with? So based on what you guys can see on this picture,
Those are likes, comments?
those are likes and comments. Which one of these pictures is a winning photo?
The middle one.
Middle one, pretty clear, right? Middle one is the winning photo. I don't need to try and figure this all out on my own, because all these accounts have already done a lot of this work for you. You just need to go find the account that your followers are already following and do a little bit of research and say, what are the posts that are getting the most engagement? Now I know that post is getting the most engagement. Now what's my job? My job is to reverse engineer, hack the patterns that are working for those posts. Now, the reality is that I have no idea what those patterns are. I'm just guessing at them. But the more posts we see, you're gonna start to realize, and I don't care what industry you're in, there's going to be patterns that emerge over time, where it's like, oh, it's a similar post that keeps getting the likes and comments. Mm-hmm. So we know the winning picture is the middle picture. Just any guesses. There's no wrong answer here, because we're always just gonna be guessing. We put what we think the pattern might be, and we put question mark next to it. So any guesses as to why this picture got more likes and comments than the pictures around it?
That one has kind of a water
Yeah,
in it.
absolutely. So it's got water. So what we'll do on a piece of paper, this is what I do. On a piece of paper, I'll put water. It's a guess at the pattern, because it's the only post here that's got any water in it, right?
Yeah.
I'll put water or river, put that in the post. Yeah, what else is there, Gail?
It's just close up.
It's close up, it's a close up front facing shot.
Yeah.
None of the other posts have that, so I'm gonna write that as a pattern. Like front facing shot, anything else? it's off center, so maybe that's a pattern. I don't know. I don't know what the patterns are. I'm just guessing, right? I'm just guessing.
You're just describing what you're seeing.
I'm just describing kind of, often what I'll be doing is describing what's different from this photo than the others, like what's different from this than the others, yeah?
So I have a question, so before you even get to knowing this information, how many likes and comments there are, you have to go through and dissect everything, right? So you're just randomly selecting like 12 posts, for example, going through and seeing what has the most
You
likes
can kind of
and
hover over
comments?
them on the PC, and then you'll see how many likes are, and then you can go into the
Yeah,
accounts.
if I look up,
Oh, you can't do it on your phone,
You
have to
can-
do it from the
you
desktop.
can do it on your phone. Like on your phone, what you'll do is you'll just, on Instagram, you select the middle, there's like a middle thing there where you can just scroll through all the posts on the account,
Got
right?
it. Yeah.
And so it'll be the same thing. Now you're just going through and you're just comparing. You're never going like, okay, I'm gonna look at this post and then I'm gonna go like 50 posts down and compare the numbers to 50 posts down. You're always comparing to the numbers around it
Yeah.
because there's a good chance that that Instagram account has grown over time.
But isn't there a
Yes.
possibility that the reason they have 1,256 likes instead of 600 is the hashtags that they wound up using on that
Yeah.
post?
That's a real possibility, and sometimes we get it wrong. And I'll share that in a second here, but sometimes we get it wrong. And what we can do is we can also borrow hashtags. Like, okay,
Right.
there might be winning hashtags on that
Right,
post.
I know some winners.
But sometimes we're like, oh, okay, it doesn't work. But most of the time, you're gonna find patterns where it's like, well, if that pattern emerges again, then it's probably the pattern and not just the post. So we can't do this based off of one post. What
Yeah.
we're doing is we're saying,
Yeah.
there's the one
I
post,
was thinking this
what's the pattern, right? So now what you can do on Instagram as you're building your channel, we figure out what those patterns are, we start to write those patterns down, and then what we'll do is we'll scroll through this account, we might find another photo, that's a winning photo, and if we see the same pattern emerge again, so let's just say, one of the things that Tracy said was, well, there's water in this post and there's no water in the other post. So maybe we'll put water or river, and then let's say we scroll down, we find another photo that's got a massive number of likes on it compared to the photos around it, and it's also near a river. We're like, okay, what we'll do is we'll just put a check mark next to, or a tick next to river, and we're just tallying how many times that pattern keeps coming up. And then we can start to determine what are the winning patterns that keep emerging. Now, I've done this exercise for accounts across different industries, and I found out things that I would never know, but usually within an hour I can get a pretty good sense of how I'm gonna build an account for any industry. For renovations, had no idea before, but we started looking at different accounts that show different home renovations, found out that a massive pattern that started emerging was white and gold. Specifically white and gold within bathrooms. So now it's like, well, if you can put like white countertops and gold faucets and bars and whatever, those are winning pictures. That's what people are looking for. We looked at this in a nail salon. Found out that the pictures that were getting the most engagement was a picture of the hand that had a very clean background and not a busy background. Now even that own account, they didn't even, I would argue, they didn't even know that because they're still posting tons of pictures with a busy background, getting way less likes than the photo with a clean background. And then there were certain patterns that were done on the nails where I was like, okay, yeah, obviously this picture got a ton of likes because of the pattern that was done on the nails, but then I asked the girl who was running the salon, well, could you replicate that pattern on nails? Like, could you do it? She said, yeah, I can do that, no problem. I said, well, you know that's a winning pattern. Maybe you find somebody that volunteers to have their nails done like that, you put it on your post and say, hey, I did this. You already know that there's an audience out there that loves that, so just replicate the patterns that are working. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So even for the motorcycle club, now there's two things that we're doing here. We're gonna look at reposting photos that already exist, but over time, because I have a sense of what the patterns are that people are looking for, I can now actually look for those moments when we're actually on our trips and try to replicate those patterns in our own photos. So you're trying to replicate the patterns in your own business as well. Okay, so we find that there's a pattern that works here. Now here's the interesting bit within social media. We started figuring out, back in the day when we first started Freshline, we had a formula for how to attract people to the club, to the business. And over time, what happened was bots started becoming a lot more relevant. And now there's a million businesses out there that just follow you as a business and you know it's just a bot. Because if you guys are on Instagram, you're probably gonna know that's true, right? On almost a daily basis, you have some business that's following you. So it's not anything new. You might see the business, you might even click on it, but there's a good chance that you're not really paying attention because it's a business. So what we did is we started off as a business and then we noticed that we were getting a lot less follow backs as a business. So we created a special account just for Kurt that was a personal account. And this is a version of me. So what I've done is I've replicated the patterns that we found in these other accounts in a new personal account, because what we noticed is that if a person follows you, you're much more likely to get a follow back. So here is a different version of me, basically, that I run on Instagram, and this account's called The Rugged Gentleman. You guys with me so far?
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay. So here, I'll still have my name up there. Surprise for you, my real name, or my first name is not Eric. It's Carl.
Seriously.
And then a little bit of where I'm from, and then what I'm actually posting in the account. So what's the because I've got so many Carls in my family that mom right from the get-go.
You don't want to be Carl E.
Yeah, both grandfathers. That's the story. Both grandfathers and uncles on both sides of my family are Carl, so I went by Eric so that they could differentiate me.
Fair enough.
Yeah, so we started posting in this account, this personal account, because we noticed we're getting a lot more engagement with this, follow backs from this. Let me go back one.
Oh, you reposted that same picture.
This is the winning photo, yeah.
You
Boom.
literally
Where's that
reposted
photo
it.
going? Literally reposting the photo. Now on Instagram and social media, it's socially accepted to repost photos from someone else as long as you're giving credit to the account or the photographer. Usually the
How do
photographer.
you repost the photo?
You just download
I
it.
will literally screenshot it
Yeah.
and repost it.
Yeah.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
you can't just
Crop
like
it.
share it.
No.
You can, there's repost apps where it says like repost.
Oh, okay.
Honestly, to me, that's more complicated than just
Yeah, yeah,
screenshot it
yeah,
and then put it on, and then just
Okay.
upload it to your own account.
okay.
So you can see, we put that photo there, right?
Yeah.
Now, if I go down a little bit, here's what's interesting. Yes, we started to replicate patterns, and one of the things that Tracy had said was, well, maybe water. Yes, I've actually found that that is a strong pattern that we found is if you have a 4x4 in or near a river,
Right.
it tends to get a lot higher likes. So that's a pattern that keeps emerging in our posts. What that allows us to do as we find these patterns is it actually gives us a sequence of here are the photos that we're going to be posting in sequence. This is the pattern that we're looking for, like for today's post or this week's post, because we posted a photo of something else previous. So what I found for Kurt, things that he engages with as patterns are very, very specific. I found that they're very specific. So Kurt loves two types of vehicles. He loves Land Cruiser FJ40s specifically, and he loves Land Rover Defenders 110s. No other Land Rover. I posted other Land Rovers on there, like Land Rover Discovery. He hated it. Can't be any Land Rover, it's gotta be Land Rover Defender 110, okay? Does that make sense? It has to be very specific. Other things I found that are very specific, I find it a little bit entertaining, but Kurt loves float planes, but he really likes yellow float planes. So I've posted different photos of float planes, different colors, but the yellow ones always get way more traction. I don't know why.
Kurt's a specific guy.
He's a specific guy.
Yeah.
He loves yellow float
He
planes.
knows what he
right?
likes.
He loves fishing. He really loves salmon fishing. He loves cabins in the wilderness, loves horses and like exploration. So we start to find these patterns, and what we've done basically is I don't quote me on this, but I think it's roughly 12 patterns where I'm like, okay, I know that he loves FJ40s, I know he loves Defenders, I know he loves cabins, I know he loves horses, I know he loves fishing, I know he loves float planes, I know he loves rifles.
Right.
Dogs? Yeah, I know he loves dogs. I know he likes knives. I know he likes.
Sun globe. Or the globe.
Yeah, I'll talk about that in a second. I know he loves rebuilt motorcycles. Specifically, he's really into BMW scramblers. So I start to find these patterns, and now I've basically established what those patterns are. So I can hand this account off to somebody and be like, here are the 11 patterns. All we're doing is just recycling those patterns. So the next time we post a photo, the next photo that goes up there might be a photo, look for a photo of a dog, or maybe it's a photo of a campfire, whatever the next pattern is in line. Does that make sense?
Wow.
So now you have an idea around what the next thing is you're posting. You don't have to like search for it and try to be like, what the hell am I gonna post today? Because you've already established what those
I
patterns are.
always post original content. I never repost anything.
Which is okay.
But it's not gonna get you followers like that.
No.
No, but it's really time consuming.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah.
It's a ton of work.
Really,
And it's-
it's really limiting.
It's
Yeah.
okay to repost other people's stuff. Because most of these photos, sometimes we're starting to incorporate more of our own photos in here now because we understand the
And you
patterns, so
have
we
more
can create our own
content as
content. However, most of these photos are not our photos. And in every photo where I can, if I know where it came from, I will give credit to the photographer. And the photographers are always happy about it.
Yeah.
Because all I'm saying is, hey, go check out their work, and they're getting more followers as a result of the post I'm posting. Does that make sense?
Well, on Unsplash, right? On Unsplash, you get some good content
Yeah.
on Unsplash.
True, but you don't know whether that, unless you've already established your patterns, you
Yeah.
don't know which of those photos are actually gonna be winning photos. Which you will get from like looking at other accounts that are
Oh, I see
similar
what
to
you're
this.
saying,
Yeah.
yeah.
The other thing that I've discovered in this is, yes, you find patterns for what are the posts, what are they into, but you'll also find patterns for what is the look and feel of the account.
Yes.
So any guesses on this, just based on what I've got here, any guesses on what that look and feel is for the Rugged Jet?
Outdoors.
Outdoors?
It's all outdoor.
Yeah, in terms of colors?
Adventure, it's very earthy.
Yeah. So what I've found, there's 3 core themes that I've seen that's come through. I don't know if I have another photo. No. I'll go back.
I love this.
There's 3 core themes that I've seen that have come through. So dark browns, dark greens, so basically your forest colors. And what I found to be very strong winter in posts is what I call fireside glow. Now that comes through in different ways. It's either that golden hour, like sunrise, sunset. It's either a fire, like that fireside glow, or often, and I don't know if I have photos here of it. No. But it's often like headlights shining through like the dust or a mist or something like that. It's that warm glow. So dark browns, dark greens, and that warm, what I call fireside glow. Maybe it's just a lantern. But whatever aspect of that is, I know that those posts tend to get good engagement. So you'll actually discover your look and feel of the account kind of organically over time as you start to reverse hack and reverse engineer these patterns.
So then you just go through and you start deleting what's not getting because that's what I was just thinking here. So I can start going through and start deleting the ones that I know are not working as well, and then you do start to create that look.
Yeah, you can.
Okay.
You don't have to though. You don't have to go back and delete. If you go and look at any Instagram account
Yeah.
that's got lots of followers,
You'll see
challenge
the
you to
evolution
scroll
over
back to the
time.
very beginning, and they're all finding themselves.
Yeah.
It's like their posts are very different, usually in the very beginning, and over time they figure out what works for them.
Yes.
Yes.
So it's not important that you have to go back and delete. You can,
Most
but
people don't go back that far looking
I
for
do.
stuff.
That's true.
yeah. Some
I
people
do
do.
just see how it's evolved.
Yeah,
Yeah, that'd be.
And
the
I've
only-
noticed
that'd be
in
the-
all of them, and
that would
that's,
be the reason to do
Yeah.
it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Because I was worried, I'm like, oh, what if they scroll back and they see it's haphazard and then I lose credibility, blah, 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 blah.
yeah,
And then I started looking at all these other accounts and it's the same.
yeah. It's
But you're looking at. what
Accounts
you're
are-
now is more
accounts are a little bit like
Yes.
people. It's like that evolution over time. In the beginning,
Yeah.
you're trying to figure yourself out, and you're just trying different things you don't know, and then over time it develops into you, into your personality.
Mhm.
It's
So
your look and feel.
question for you then,
Yeah.
what did you say, you said there's 7, 12, how many different things that you found, like the?
I think for me it's like 12, but there's no set formula on that. It's just saying these are the strong patterns that are emerging,
Strong
and there
patterns.
might be, maybe for you there's 5, maybe for you there's
Right.
15. I don't think, to me, I mean, I'm still experimenting with this. I haven't learned this stuff from anybody else. This has been my own evolution of figuring this out kind of on my own. So I can't say that I've said, or I know that there's a strong, yes, go for 15. It's just whatever is kind of emerging through the different accounts.
So as you figured that out, you did not go through the rest of the photos, like the other Land Rovers that weren't working, you just didn't?
No, I
delete
didn't
or
cull
anything
them, I
like
didn't curate the
that?
account.
Okay, you haven't edited it or anything like
No.
that? No, okay.
No. And part of the reason for that is because, like, the Land Rover Discovery that I posted, I thought it'd be a great picture. If you're on the account, you'll see it. It's this Land Rover Discovery crossing a wooden bridge. But the bridge is just 2 logs. Like, there's nothing in between. And I was like, oh, this is a great adventure photo of the Land Rover. I thought it was great. The photo didn't get much traction, but I really liked in my personal opinion, I liked the comment that I left there, or put there, so I'm like, I'm just gonna leave it, because I can go back and I have referenced that comment in the past, because I got a lot of traction because of the comment and not the picture.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so understand what that looks like. So, now what's important is that because there's a potential here that we are recycling what's working for other accounts, It's important that we're not copying their message. We go back to what's that brand voice that you want to have come through? You develop your own voice. So what is it for the Rugged Gentleman? As you'll see, there's not humor in this. There could be. It's not like Kurt is humorless, but there's just a different look and feel for the account. So for this, our formula here is the philosophical adventurer. So what does that mean? It means the post evokes adventure, and the picture evokes adventure, and the description, the post, is more philosophical. So it's working through more of a philosophical perspective, thoughts on different things, right? And what you'll notice in this is you're still using that I perspective. So I was reading this, I was looking at this, I was thinking about this the other day, right?
So it's totally fine to have, like, I don't need to put any of my photos per se. I can
Nope.
just go troll Instagram.
Yeah.
And I can get a picture and I can be like,
Yep.
here are my thoughts today on this.
Yeah.
Absolutely,
Based on these 12 patterns.
100%.
I have no idea
Holy
either.
F.
I have no idea.
I know you're on video, so I'm not swearing.
Yeah, I just assumed it was plagiarizing.
Are you guys having, it sounds like we're having some revelations, we're having some breakthroughs here.
Oh my god.
So, because what we,
I've been stealing photos from Pinterest for a long time.
yeah, we're building accounts that are attractive, because if the account's not attractive, it's really hard to get people to stick,
Yeah.
right? So we're just reverse engineering what is already working for other accounts and what's attractive. We're letting other people do the work for us. And then we're just taking the post, the best of, basically, and putting it into our
Yeah,
post.
man. Oh, I love it.
Wow.
That just frees up everything.
So you guys can see here, just example, there doesn't have to be humor in here, but having that philosophical post in there, we've still got over 31 comments on the post. You don't have to have humor to have engagement, okay? Because that's sometimes what I was getting, was like, oh, well, that's great, works for you because you've got humor in the post. You don't have to get engagement. It's just gonna be something that
This
your
one,
audience
this was not
knows.
your post, this was not your picture?
No,
So PC is the photo credit, right?
yeah, PC is photo credit to Twin the World or whatever.
But it doesn't have anything to do with photos, actually.
Okay.
It's not interesting.
I only
This is
ever
not
had
bad
one.
in yourself thing I keep seeing on all your, must be on all your screenshots, not bad in yourself was someone who had like.
On the very bottom, like by, not bad.
I didn't even notice that.
On every single screenshot.
Oh, you know why? It's probably because,
It's someone you know.
yeah, it's someone I know. It's actually, yeah, it's my sister's boyfriend.
I know.
Yeah.
I was like, I know that one.
Yeah.
So are we gonna touch on bots?
Yeah, we'll touch on bots towards, in the next
Okay.
little bit here. Yeah.
This one didn't.
Okay, so what I'm gonna do now with you guys is I want you to ask yourself, okay, who is my client? So step one, identify my client. 2, find the top accounts they are following, and you might very well be following some of these accounts already yourself. 3, find the patterns that are in the winning, I'm going to put winning posts. A lot of times winning posts are videos, but it's hard to tell whether a video is actually a winning post or not because it just gives you views.
Yeah, it tells you how many views there are.
Yeah, so,
But I find that there's a lot more engagement with my videos than my pictures.
which can be really good. Like for instance, in the gym industry, we had this
That
discussion
makes
last month. I was like, well, because she was looking at winning accounts, and she's like, but they're all videos, and I'm like, does that tell you something? Because if they're highly engaged Instagram accounts, as in they've got tons of followers, and all they're posting is videos, and you're not, maybe you need to consider posting some videos.
Yeah.
So if your videos are getting high engagement, one of the other things to note here, guys, is that you can take a look at your own account and just find out what's already worked for yourself in your own account. The big theme here is double down on what works. You don't need to keep digging everywhere to figure out what's working, because there's a large enough platform out there with Instagram with enough tens of thousands of followers, data points essentially, that we don't have to reinvent the wheel here.
So what about, are you gonna talk about the, your, what do you call that at the top? That I-
Oh, your bio?
Your story.
Oh, story, like stories or bio?
No, the story at the top of your Instagram.
Okay.
Putting, because I use
Yeah,
the
yeah.
story,
Mhm.
I do use it, and then throw it into highlights,
Yeah,
and then create highlights.
yeah, we can talk about it.
But, okay, so this is the other thing, is what is the percentage in comparison to your followers? Is there a percentage of likes that you should be getting if you're doing fairly well? Cause I mean.
It's a good question. That percentage changes as your account grows.
Okay.
So when your account's relatively small, as in if you have a few hundred followers,
Yeah,
then your percentage should be roughly like,
quarter,
yeah, so around 20%.
20%?
That's a very rough rule.
Okay.
That's just what I noticed in the early days of my account, and I don't even know today if that would still be the same. And then as your account grows, your percentage of followers engaging with your posts will eventually go down. Like once you kind of pass
Really?
10,000, then because people can see that it's got thousands of likes, because in the beginning when it's more intimate and there's like 30 something likes on this, people are more likely to like on it because they think they're engaging with you and you're going to notice them. Once it's got like 2,000 likes on the post, then they're less likely to hit the like button because they're like, well, my like's not going to make a difference here. It's not going to matter. They're not going to notice me. So I'll enjoy the picture, but I don't necessarily like engage with it. Yeah.
That's interesting. Okay.
So there's not a strict formula for percentage. I'm sure if I went and looked at tons of, there probably is some kind of rough formula, but for what's a good account. Basically, you're looking at, are people, the big thing you're looking for is comments. Are people actually commenting on this? That's how you know you're starting to get engagement. If you're getting 0 comments on your posts, then we need to start looking at coming up with a better description than that.
Yeah, but sometimes I do, sometimes I don't, it sort of depends.
So the ones that you're not getting comments on, stop doing whatever that is.
Yeah,
That's in the post.
but then you always have to also look at the comments, because some of them are coming from people who
Bots.
want you to follow them too. or
Yeah,
bots.
exactly. So you have to look at the quality comments. I agree.
Yeah.
Any questions on this, guys? Nope. So whether you're looking at other accounts or your own account, I want you guys to start looking for, give me at least one pattern that's been emerging.